The black letter of the law embodies the core principles that define the foundation of America, stemming from the valiant struggle for independence during the American Revolution of 1776. Violating these principles is not merely an infraction of the law, it is an affront to the very ideals upon which this great nation was built. The knowledge of our history, including the American Revolutionary War fought between 1775 and 1783, is indispensable for understanding what it means to be a part of this country. The 13 American colonies, unified by their desire for self-governance, faced off against British authority that imposed taxes and governance without representation. This conflict ignited a firestorm of change, ultimately culminating in the Declaration of Independence in 1776 and concluding with the Treaty of Paris in 1783, marking America's emergence as a sovereign entity. At the heart of the Declaration of Independence in the Constitution of the United States lies the articulation of mankind's most fundamental political questions. These documents are not merely historical artifacts, but are grounded in a firm moral foundation that has continued to guide the nation through the ages. They articulate the first principles of political organization, ensuring that future generations, regardless of their circumstances, have a template to address their own struggles and aspirations. The founders' principles transcend the passage of time and the evolution of technology, demanding that they must never be diminished or cast aside. Government officials bear the solemn responsibility to respect their oaths to uphold the Constitution, and it falls upon the citizens to hold them accountable. Vigilance is essential. We must ensure that the rights granted to us are preserved and protected for the sake of future generations. It's through this collective effort that we honor the sacrifices made by our forebears and maintain the integrity of our nation. It is our duty to impart knowledge and understanding of these foundational elements to each new generation, instilling in them a sense of responsibility toward the liberties we cherish. The first tier of critical thought laid out in the Declaration of Independence grasped the idea that just government is rooted in the consent of the governed. This revolutionary thought rejected the then dominant belief that legitimate authority stemmed from divine right. Instead, the American perspective affirmed that the governed have the right to grant or withhold their consent, marking a significant departure from historical precedents. While the founders acknowledged that human beings are not inherently equal in all aspects of life, they held steadfast to the belief that all individuals are born equal in rights. This principle asserts that no person can justly claim dominion over another. Each individual possesses the right to self-govern, which intrinsic to that is the consent to abide by laws issued through established constitutional processes. Such consent can manifest in various forms, from immigrants formally acquiring citizenship to native-born citizens tacitly accepting their obligations by participating in society. The second tier of critical thought articulated in the Declaration recognized that the primary purpose of government is the protection of natural or unalienable rights. The founders departed from the traditional notion that the role of government was to save souls or perfect humanity. Their view was not one of indifference toward higher moral concerns. Rather, they believed that the care of the soul is an individual, familial, and institutional responsibility. Securing the rights of individuals did not eliminate the possibility of government taking on additional responsibilities, as long as such actions remained consistent with the equal rights of all individuals and served the common good. The founders acknowledged that it was not the government's role to provide for the people's material needs directly or to intervene in every unfortunate circumstance. Instead, they envisioned a government that would create conditions conducive to the responsible exercise of natural rights, enabling Americans to support themselves and their families. The third tier of critical thought emphasized the paramount importance of religious liberty, the inherent right of individuals to worship according to individual conscience. This tenet is not indicative of hostility toward religion. Rather, it reflects the understanding that faith, grounded in personal choice and conscience, cannot and should not be dictated by civil authorities. The separation of church and state was established not to diminish the role of religion, but to safeguard the essence of faith and to prevent the government from imposing limitations on its practice. The founders recognized that the spirit of liberty and the spirit of religion are not adversaries. Rather, they represent complementary forces that bolster one another. Since every individual is free and endowed with reason, it follows that genuine faith can only thrive when practiced freely. The multitude of Christian denominations present during the founding of the nation affirm the notion that every human being possesses intrinsic value in the eyes of God, necessitating a division of powers between church and state. Thus, religion, in its various forms, served to reinforce the nation's commitment to natural rights principles. As we approach the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence in 2026, we find ourselves grappling with the consequences of willful ignorance and neglect toward these foundational tenets. The strife we experience today is a direct result of actions taken to diminish the significance of our founding documents, either through ignorance or for political expediency. The study of our nation's origins and the integration of these principles into American constitutional governance must take center stage in our civic education system. It is imperative that we understand the implications of these founding ideas in addressing today's challenges. Government officials are duty-bound to respect the rule of law and to adhere to these principles, not to disregard them for convenience. The black letter of law is more than a string of legal texts. It embodies the spirit of America, a spirit that celebrates freedom, equality, and the unwavering belief that all men are created equal. The sanctity of our rights and freedoms must not be taken for granted. Each generation has the responsibility to uphold and defend these principles. It is through understanding our shared history and the values articulated by our founders that we can confront contemporary issues with clarity and discernment. Each citizen must engage critically with the tenets of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, not only as historical documents, but as living texts that continue to shape our society. As we reflect on the past and look to the future, let us remember that the freedom and rights we enjoy today are the result of countless sacrifices and struggles. To violate the black letter of the law is to undermine the very fabric of our democracy and the values that unite us as a nation. It is our sacred duty to ensure that the lessons of the past are not forgotten and that the ideals of our founders continue to guide us forward. In doing so, we honor their legacy and protect the rights that define our American identity.